This is evidence of a good time.
Well, boys, what I learned last weekend is that every team in college football except Alabama stinks.
Fair. And they're ranked first, right? And that's what they should be. That's where they are.
Everyone else is tied for second or last place,
That's
however you
correct.
want to look at it.
There's gradations of stinking. Penn State is only the third. It should be that they're the third worst team other than Alabama in the country, according to the AP.
Apparently,
I like
right.
that. I like that. That's a good way to look at it.
Happy to be.
Gradations of stinking. There's Penn State not putting it to Villanova, and then there's all the teams we've beaten so far, and they're really, really bad.
Yes.
Apparently. So we'll get into it. Grab your pencil and your paper. It's the obligatory PSU pregame show.
Unfortunately.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Chris is always so negative.
All right, that's college football. That's the way it goes. It's the obligatory PSU pregame show. We're coming to you from Central Reservation, cool spot in downtown State College on Beaver and Allen. A lot of folks don't know it just yet because it opened during the once-in-a-lifetime, we hope, global pandemic.
Yeah.
But we're introducing it to you here on television. I'm your fake host, Chris Bucanani, joined as always by beloved campus icon, Mike the Mailman.
Hey, everybody. We're ready to roll here. Villanova,
You ready to create some chicken salad after that Villanova game last weekend?
I want to ask Kevin a question.
Yeah, Mike.
Does the word Heisman Trophy ever enter your mind when you talk about Penn State quarterbacks?
Not in a while. Not since Kerry Collins.
I mean, the last two games. I mean, who's been a better quarterback than Sean?
Hard to think of one. No, he's the reason that this team is fourth in the country at this point.
Absolutely.
Which I cannot imagine saying after last year.
Certainly not De'Aaron King or Spencer Rattler, who are both making a lot more money.
Yeah, making a lot of
We'll
money.
talk about
Yeah,
later as a teaser. What do you think of that former NFL defensive tackle Brandon Noble?
And it was, you see a lot of, it was a letdown game. It was this, it was that. I mean,
It surely was. He was super frustrated.
yeah, it was frustrating. And that's probably what we should have all expected. And maybe we did. We're going to be okay at the end of the day. I don't take a lot from that game either way, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, here's my thing. We already talked to former OnwardState.com managing editor Kevin Horn. But, Kev, the thing I saw with this team through the first 3 weeks that I loved was that they were emotionally even-keeled. They, didn't get too high after some big wins. They didn't get down when things weren't going their way against Auburn. Apparently, all three teams we've beaten so far are total garbage. College football, I don't know. But I was thinking that maybe this was not a group that was going to take Villanova lightly, and it appears like they maybe did.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, they beat the crap out of them. Villanova had 3 points until Penn State put in its second-team defense. The two things that were of concern, I think, are one, there's not a lot of depth, doesn't seem, on Penn State. When the second team comes in, it's really not great.
Yeah.
I mean, if Penn State at all this year has like plus 30, plus 20 spreads, like don't take it, because if they get up, they're going to put in the second team, and it's not going to go well. Right. But for a lucky penalty, that's a 14-point game. It ends with a 14-point game. And obviously, everyone's talking about the running game, which, look, this is a one-dimensional offense. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And you can win 10, 11 games with a one-dimensional offense this year. So we just got to – that's what it is. I mean, John Leavitt looked okay at times, but we're going to blow up – if we're not blowing Villanova off the ball – with the run, then we're not going to blow anyone off the ball, and we just have to accept that. And first of all, also Villanova was selling out for the run.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and that's what they do. They're very good at that.
So, but whatever. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to take away. Today will be interesting with Indiana, but I don't know. I'm not as upset about the game as you were. I thought the defense played great. Sean Clifford played pretty well. Other than those two areas of concern, whatever, all good.
You play every game every day. I mean, Villanova's. I mean, and you talk about other teams that Penn State beat look lousy. It's important that Penn State plays well when they play these teams. I don't care how they do after they play Penn State. That's irrelevant. So what Penn State does when they play them, I don't care what the team does afterwards.
I mean, fair, but early in this season, our sense and the national sense, since we're now the number 4 team in the country apparently, is based on the perception of our quality of wins. And we are now starting to call into question a little bit, Nobes, like who we've played. And I am thinking back to what you said on last week's show. You play a team like Villanova, and you come in and you treat them in the first quarter like they're Villanova.
Right, absolutely.
And I think about the Georgia State game Penn State played in 2017.
Right.
We just whooped up on them early. And then, of course, that ties in because I think about what Auburn did against Georgia State and how I was like at a wedding on my phone, desperately rooting for Auburn to please not taint our win when it's barely a week old.
Well, they pulled Bo Nix and they won the game. So
it is. Look, I think that the fact that we're number 4 this week does say that people kind of take all that into account. I think Notre Dame is maybe a little bit better than we gave them or want to give them credit for, because we didn't know what Notre Dame was like. Right, Wisconsin, they're not going to. God bless you guys. Like, I love Wisconsin. Why didn't you beat Notre Dame?
Well, look, if we use transitive property,
yeah, exactly.
Toledo almost beat Notre Dame.
Exactly. There's that whole
Notre Dame beat the crap out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly.
Toledo beat Ball State. Penn State beat the crap out of Ball State.
Yeah, we're good.
So we're good. So okay. So clearly, I just justified our number 4 ranking.
I do think though when you look at Auburn and you look at kind of you talk about a little bit of a letdown game for us. Right, imagine coming up here, playing in that environment, emotionally spent, right, and next thing you know, you're going down and you're playing that Georgia State or Georgia Southern, or
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right? One of those Georgia schools, but not the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's right.
And they had a letdown too. So I do think that those are real things. Yeah. You watch it. It's so when you watch tape doesn't lie. It's you see it as a player and you go, these guys aren't that good. And sometimes those things happen. I am concerned with our inability to move people off football. Yeah. I will be concerned with that until they prove me wrong. But I still think we're a pretty daggone good football team.
I'm not concerned about not being able to run the ball. If you can pass for 400 yards a game, you're still going to win the game. And I think that the defense
we will see better secondaries at some point.
Yeah, look, I don't. All this is irrelevant. I don't care. Penn State's 4-0, and the schedule is such that the only teams that are not catching AP votes are Indiana and Illinois. And Indiana's okay. They struggled against Western Kentucky. We'll get into that in an upcoming segment. Illinois is trash. Other than that, every other team on Penn State's schedule is good. Like Rutgers is catching vote. Yeah. The bottom of the Big Ten, or middle of the Big Ten, Michigan State, Maryland, all way better than we gave them credit for.
They are.
Look, Alabama and Georgia are great, and then every other team in the country is flawed. Penn State just happens to be, I think, less flawed than we expected, and that a lot of these other teams are. I mean, Iowa was struggling last week, and Maryland could, by the time you see this, Maryland could have picked them off. It's hard. Who knows?
Yeah, Colorado State is not a good football team.
No, but they play football like Iowa plays football.
Well, and so that, I guess, I don't want to look past this week's game, but going back to what we saw against Villanova, you worry about a team that can be physical at the line of scrimmage, and that is where Penn State has just continued to fall short. And my God, if you can't, it's almost sublime that we struggle equally against Villanova and Auburn. It doesn't matter who it is, we're going to struggle.
Doesn't matter.
The ball.
The point is, Penn State's schedule set up as such, it can stumble once and still get into that 4 slot.
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule's
fair.
We're fine, and but it's going to be a challenge because all these teams are pretty good.
We were 0-4 at this point last year. So.
That's right.
I love it. We'll be right back.
Listen to that tomahawk chop, you can't make it stop. Listen to the sound of the team in the tunnel now. Listen in the zombie nation while they jump around. Listen to the hard hits, listen to the marching band. Listen down.
And we're back here at the Obligatory PSU pregame show from Central Reservation in State College, downtown State College. A wonderful day in Happy Valley. Take it away, Chris.
Excellent work.
That's the best I can do.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. We've got a special guest joining us now. Former Penn State quarterback, letterman, fake field goal aficionado extraordinaire.
That's right.
State College long-timer. Chris Ganter. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Thank you for having me. Probably should be holder/quarterback in that order.
The more you can do, man. It's all about the more you can do.
Chris, we've already learned so far this season how important the holder is to the success of a football team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. But we brought you in here today specifically to talk about one of the big changes in the college football landscape this year, which is that starting back in July, the gates got flung wide open. We're in the Wild West now. College athletes, for the first time, can capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. And you have dipped your toes into those chaotic waters.
Indeed.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Well, it's so interesting because we're all seeing this unfold at the same time, and everyone's trying to figure out exactly how this is going to work and what we're all going to do. But I've been fortunate to get involved in helping some Penn State football players as individuals, and then trying to figure out and help with a longer term solution as well, because we have to compete in this field, and we have to, whether you like it or not, agree with how it affects sports and college football and amateur status. We have to do well at it if we want to continue getting good athletes.
So I'm curious, again, this is all so new. There are clearly not a lot of rules or guardrails on the thing at all.
Right.
The NCAA just kind of punted.
Yep.
What are you seeing in the general marketplace across college football? How has this been approached through the first, 5-6 months?
Well, it's very interesting because I think everyone's trying to figure out what their long-term solution is for the whole thing. And in a lot of the schools that are more city located, you'll see we saw some splashy deals. And it's tough to tell if those kind of deals will continue.
Not looking so good so far, by and large.
And at schools more like Penn State that are more college towns, I think it's, you're not seeing as much newsworthy deals being made, but I think there's still stuff happening. And we want to get to a place where we are making splashy deals so that people can see that recruits.
For recruiting, yeah, absolutely. That's a huge thing. I mean, and your point is we have to figure out how we do this in State College at Penn State, a place that has notoriously been anti all of this, right? You know, to kind of overcome the stigma of what used to be the wrong thing to do is now the right thing to do, and how to embrace it.
It's strange.
And that's a challenge. And this is like we're going to have to overcome millennia of of this, of just forced, this is how it's done, but we got to do it. We got to do it fast.
Absolutely.
And that's scary because nothing happens fast here.
It's true. I'm seeing that.
Sorry. I mean, it's the truth.
Well, and that's kind of my next question. So, going from the macro to the micro, you've been working with some Penn State athletes. How is what's going on in the general marketplace being reflected in Happy Valley and around the Penn State program so far?
It seems to be, everyone seems to be very receptive and supportive of the efforts these kids are making. Is that transitioning into dollars yet? Not so much, but there's stuff that is about to break, and things will start happening. Just in the past couple weeks, as I've been helping these guys market events or appearances, things like that, I get so much of how can we help? How can I get involved? And so it's going to take kind of the whole Penn State community and alumni base to rally together and really work on this and understand that it takes all of us.
Based on what you're seeing and the programs that you've got in the works, specifically, what can fans, the community, the alumni base, how can Penn Staters get behind this effort and help the Nittany Lions program do a better job than we're doing so far?
So like I said, it does take us all. And in the event of last week, we had a post-game tailgate. Sean Clifford and Jahan Dotson, our two-star players, are having great seasons.
Yeah.
It's at Medler Field, right across the street from the stadium. You walk out, you make a left, and there's a post-game tailgate set up for you with catering. There's a bar, and then you get autographs and pictures with the guys. And then they were also doing a Q&A, and we want people to see. I mean, I know a lot of people saw it. We want people to come through and support our guys in that because it's going to have an effect.
Yeah. It seems to me that that's kind of just becoming one of the things that's going to be a way for fans to invest in supporting the program. But to your point, Noble, it's new for everyone and counterintuitive, frankly, for a lot of Penn State fans, I think.
Yeah, and for a lot of us that have grown up around the game, this was such a no-no for so long.
Yeah, sure.
Right, and especially here, like this, that was a thing of pride, right? You know what
Look,
I mean?
let me tell you,
and that's
people
okay,
have never,
right? Yeah.
people have never forgiven Curtis Enos for taking a suit.
That's true.
Right? That is one of the best
And
running
a
backs
terrible
in
suit
program
at that.
history.
Yes, it was a horrible suit that he took. But it is. But I do think that, you know, we have to do a better job of opening up our eyes and say, look, these are the opportunities, because it's a good thing for these guys too, right? I mean, and that's how we're going to get them here too. I mean, people are going to know.
Yeah, no, that's it. And when you were talking about a good opportunity for them, not only, you know, they'll get to make a little bit of money, hopefully in many cases a lot of money, but they're learning how to, they're learning a lot about business.
Yeah.
How to start and run and market a business, because they essentially are their own businesses in these cases. How to do events, what kind of money goes into things, and
They're learning a lot.
your tax, yeah.
And they can make some money.
Yeah, so it's balancing the educational and the on-field stuff. It's what we do at Penn State. More on that when we come back. It's cool if I bring us back in. You all right with it now?
Your time.
All right, good job though, Mike.
Thanks.
Back here on the obligatory PSU pregame show from Central Reservation. Still joined by Chris Ganter, Penn State letterman, backup quarterback and
Legend.
holder.
Yes.
And just to kind of put a bow on the conversation we were having before the break, Chris, NIL, Penn State athletes, let's just talk a little bit more about what the next steps are as you see them evolving over the rest of the season.
So for the next steps, we want to get more people involved and educate more people. And I think in State College, this community is that education is there. It's in place, and I think people understand that. But what about our incredible alumni base? People from all around the country, working for big companies, small companies, coming to games, whatever. We could use anyone that wants to see our programs, not just football, succeed, to get involved.
Okay. And what's the best channel for them to do that?
So I'm not the only person that's operating in this space, but I'm more than happy to work with anybody to help connect with our athletes. And for starters, I mean, I'm at Chris Ganter on Instagram and Twitter. That's an easy way, or you can find me on Facebook.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to see lettermen, alumni of the program, coming back and connecting with the kids who are here now, bridging that gap. And, you know, you're a State College native. Obviously, your dad was the offensive coordinator here for a long time. Brought a tear to my eye to see Penn State line up in the I formation a couple weeks ago. I'm sure he was super proud.
Oh, yeah.
I played for State High, played for Penn State. What's it like being back in Happy Valley?
I absolutely love coming back. And there's no better time than the fall in central Pennsylvania. And the school is amazing, this town is amazing, and coming to games are just so much fun. I get to sleep in my childhood bedroom. It's a place where all my brothers, I have 3 brothers, where we come together and get to hang with my dad.
That's awesome. What I mean, look, you've been around the program forever, like literally.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you think of it? Like, we kind of this year, right? You know, we're you know, we beat Villanova this week, right? You see kind of what happened with Auburn and Wisconsin, but like, look, we're 4-0 at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
You and I know that's hard to do.
It is hard to do. It is hard to do. I'm pumped about this team. I think there's a lot to be very excited about. They seem to have great chemistry. We're making big plays when we have to, working together, and have some really great position groups.
Well, you mentioned chemistry, and one of the things that we've talked a lot about especially on the podcast, we've got a little more time to talk about it, but you seem to have you've gotten to know some of these guys now. You know, the locker room chemistry is important, and you're feeling that because you've been there too, right? So to me, you're somebody that has a little bit of credibility when it comes to understanding what a locker room is supposed to be like.
Yeah, I think that you can see that as a fan, just how the players are, but then also inside. I think they have great staff. They've made some great hires, and they're recruiting great kids too. that's a big part of it.
And we can
Just
help
feel it.
by getting in touch
Yeah.
with Chris, right, and helping these guys make some money and learn a little bit about business. I mean, because
For sure.
that's a real thing,
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure.
to
It's
have
not
the
just a
opportunity.
spin.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Legitimately, what Penn State does well as a program is wins on the field without sacrificing the other part of college that makes it college football. And I think this is a good case of that. But since I got two former Penn State football players here, we heard James Franklin allude last week to the fact that maybe these guys were buying their own hype a little bit and not taking the team super seriously because it was Villanova and they knew it. Is that legit? Is that something that happens in a locker room in a week before a game like the one we had last week?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's coach.
Yeah,
speak
dude,
for
say
sure.
it. Yeah, say
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your
Whether, he meant every bit of that or not, it's
Right.
a message to the team.
And you watch the film, right? You watch the film. As a player, the film doesn't lie. You know what you see.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty super uncomfortable. I'm just
Yeah.
asking you guys to make me feel better because that was kind of dog crap last week. You heard my thoughts on it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it
all
is.
right, look, let's go to a tasting trail spot. We'll be right back.
Cheers.
And it's important that you never invite me to a fall wedding on Saturday night. It's a tradition.
Welcome. Welcome to Seven Mountains. You can see our nice lodge kind of style building that we built here in the middle of the mountains. You see, of course, all of our governor's cups on the wall. We don't want you to miss those. And the first thing I think I'm going to do is show you where all of our delicious wines are made. I like that. Okay? This is the main production area of the winery. See, we do everything in stainless steel tanks, and all of our tanks are variable capacity tanks. This is like wine on tap. I like that. Yeah, so go ahead and put your glass under there.
Nobles gonna get one of these.
This is our best selling dry red. It's a blend of 4 different grapes. Kind of like a maraschino. After we bottle this, we will bottle age it for an additional year before it goes to retail. Big and bold and tannic.
Now that's what I like.
Yeah.
And in here is where we keep all of our barrels. This is our underground wine cave. Oh wow.
So you built this part here?
Yeah. This is what the hardest job I ever did in my life.
I would think so.
I was thinking
Each one of those are foundation top caps. They weigh 32 pounds a piece.
Wow.
And by about the 4th or 5th row, we did 1 row each day, mortared them up over across a wooden form, and moved the form each day and did 1 row each day. And every time I picked up one of those 32-pound blocks, it felt like someone shoved an ice pick in my elbows. I had tendonitis so bad.
You don't just make the wine. You built this.
We built the
facility.
whole facility, yes.
And literally, you built it with your
Yep.
hands. That's incredible.
This is underground dirt. Now you know, Brandon, what it feels like to be 6 feet under. So let's go this way. Full finished product in this room.
Oh, wow.
All ready to go. Out to the grocery store, to our other satellite location.
That's all.
Say everything in this room is all finished inventory. Let's go to the tasting room and we'll
Yeah.
do some more tasting.
Say some more. I like it. The underground cave looked amazing. It looked like a lot of work. A lot of work.
So they've got cigar dens, cigars here for sale. I mean, just like super cool local businesses, helping local businesses. Yeah. This is good. This has been education.
It really because I'm really there are three kinds of wine: white, red, and pink. Yeah.
Swishing. Delicious. Learning how to do this. Here we go. Official. We've been here.
Really enjoyed the wine. Actually enjoyed hearing your story more.
Yeah.
Seeing the place. This is awesome.
It's a small town story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cool. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for
for having us. Thanks so
You're
much.
welcome.
I'll be back. Cheers.
I think it's very nice to have a father and daughter work together like this.
Yeah, that's right.
This is great.
He's never going to get a raise, so
Yeah.
it won't work.
Tailgate lot with a stadium view. And college what a great spot. Damn it, I've been waiting all week. You counting down the days till I'm back in my seat.
Welcome back, everybody, to the obligatory PSU pregame show, presented by HappyValley.com, coming to you from Central Reservation in downtown State College. I'm your fake host, Chris Buchanani. I got the beloved campus icon, Mike the Mailman, former Penn State and NFL defensive tackle, Brandon Noble, and still sitting in for Kevin Horn because we were so happy to kick him off the set. We don't want to bring him back just yet. Is former Penn State quarterback and holder, Chris Ganter.
Extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire. Absolutely.
And we have been talking a lot on this show about NIL because we have you here, Chris. You're working with the team. We do not want to spend too much time talking about Villanova.
No.
And I am not buying the whole revenge game narrative, which we're going to talk about next segment, for Indiana. So you guys don't get a whole show dedicated to you. We're talking about bigger college football issues and how they relate to Penn State. And look, it's pertinent because we're having a great year so far on the field. There was some question coming in of who were going to be the faces of Penn State football, who were going to be the stars. And now we're starting to see the guys you probably would have expected emerging, like you talked about, Sean Clifford and Jahan Dotson. And it's going to continue to be, going forward, a big part of the lifeblood of college football, which is recruiting, how we take care of our guys and their access to these opportunities.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit, Chris, about the fact that we have seen some other big fish at programs around the country dive in early and have it almost immediately blow up in their faces. And so University of Miami is probably the textbook case, right?
Of course.
We talked about it on the podcast, Noble, that they had a couple of big donors invest heavily in De'Aaron King, their quarterback, and in fact, the entire roster.
Yeah, blanket investment.
Yeah. And Mike, I remember saying to you, I was like, the problem with this is like, I'm not really convinced Miami's going to be any good. Like the whole ACC kind of stinks and Miami's bad.
Yeah.
And here they are, 3 weeks into the season, you already see the guy who stroked the check making noise about the fact that the team is 1-2. So to me, that's problematic from two angles.
For sure.
Number one, it increases the influence of donors and boosters into the realm of the program, which is problematic for reasons I don't need to explain.
Yeah, Miami's never been involved in it.
No, not at all. Miami has no history with anything like that.
Uncle Luke.
And then there's the other question. If the whole basis of this is to help with recruiting, if the guy who struck the first check is already losing faith at 1-2, are you going to be able to promise even the next generation of kids coming in this upcoming class that money's going to be there for them? So to me, the whole thing is still so incredibly volatile.
It is, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, as you mentioned, we're already starting to see some of those initial splashy deals, how they're felt about, and by both sides. And you mentioned Oklahoma one as well, and Miami. It's still yet to play out, but it's important to be strategic. And some people weren't.
You want to get ahead of it. The Oklahoma one to me is the one that's the challenge, right? So now you've got the freshman quarterback. I can't think of his name, right? But he got the huge deal, and now Spencer Rattler has a tough day. But from a player's perspective, right? College football players have kind of been off the table because they're not professionals, right? None of us got paid to come to school and play football. So the criticism hasn't been as harsh. Does this open something up? And is that something you've got to talk about with the guys and be like, hey, understand, it's a business now. 9 years in the league, right? every week, Brandon Noble is too small, Brandon Noble is not good enough, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I have a little PTSD about that, right? But that's a reality of the business.
Mailman says the same thing about you behind
Constantly.
you.
I'm well aware of that. Well aware of that.
Absolutely. I think there's a little bit of a learning curve for the athletes. And again, we're not just talking about football. It's
Right, yeah,
across the board.
absolutely, yeah.
There's a bit of a learning curve, and I think that we have this one little cycle, because I'm thinking about it in terms of a recruiting cycle.
Right.
We have this one cycle to figure it out. And if we don't, we might be left in the dust.
Oof.
So when you say a cycle, you're talking about like class of 22 into 23, basically?
Yeah, so
Because 22 is pretty
everyone's-
well set, so probably
yeah.
class of 23.
everyone's figuring it out now, and 22 is pretty set.
Yeah.
But by the time spring and summer rolls around, we have to be rolling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and when we say set, National Signing Day is still a couple of months off,
of course.
right? So
course.
already you think those guys are probably keeping an eye on what's going on at Penn State. But as recruits get more hip to all of this, it's going to be really important to have a structured sales pitch based around like
Absolutely.
how much money you're going to be able to make as
Absolutely.
a Nittany Lion.
Absolutely. And I'm actually working with a couple other former players on a long-term solution that I can't go into detail about just yet, but it will be something that gets every player paid and is sustainable, and then everything else would be on top of that. So we're all going to come together and figure this out, and I have no doubt that this is going to be a very attractive NIL destination.
Yeah,
for
Penn
recruits.
State will get it done.
Yeah.
I'm very confident. Chris, we appreciate you joining
Absolutely.
us. And you are welcome to come back on and premiere that when it's ready
For
to
sure.
announce. We'll be right back. Back on the obligatory PSU pregame show, coming to you from Central Reservation. And it's the time on the show, fellas, where we are going to pivot from talking with Chris Ganter and talking about NIL. Cool to have him in, by
Very
the way.
cool, yeah.
You guys had one job, and that was to ask him about the Jonas Brothers, and you failed. I'm off camera waving my hands like this.
I wanted to give him the opening to talk about it himself. He never took it.
Well, all right, fake host, Chris Buchanan.
Well, that's why that's why it's fake.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you want to know about the cryptic connection between former Penn State quarterback and holder Chris Ganter and the Jonas Brothers, all you have to do is listen when we bring them on the obligatory PSU podcast, which you can get wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll dig into it there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, boys. I'm going to throw this to you and let you dig into it. I have heard the term revenge game tossed around about this weekend because of the on par, generally poor football Penn State played to open the fake season last year, which yes came down to a controversial play at the end called by the referees. Never should have been because of a number of Penn State miscues. My feeling is Indiana's football program does not rise to the level of deserving a revenge game. If we beat Indiana in basketball, their fans wouldn't be yearning for revenge against Penn State the next season. I think we should respond in kind. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Indiana's not a good football team. They just barely beat Western Kentucky, I think it was. Michael Penix is back, the guy that will forever be immortalized for falling an inch short of the touchdown marker, but the ref called it anyway. I don't know. They have not played well this year. Penn State's catching 11 points, Mike, in the beginning here. Yeah. I think by the time you watch this, it'll probably go up to maybe 14 or so. 14, yeah. That's what I think it should be about. But I don't think Indiana's very good. I think it'll be fine. They return a lot of guys from last year, but again, they weren't even that good last year after they beat Penn State. They just happened to catch Penn State in a vulnerable spot after a COVID offseason, which we've gone over a million times how seriously Penn State took that.
They won a bunch of close games against teams that didn't practice all year, basically.
Right. So not concerned, despite Indiana returning a bunch of folks. They have not been impressive thus far in the early going. They're only one of two teams in the remainder of Penn State's schedule that are not getting any AP votes right now. So let's keep it that way after today.
And believe it or not, I was not an NFL player like Brandon.
You
but,
weren't?
I never played football at that level, but I've never believed in a revenge game. I don't know what teams do, but
I wholeheartedly believe in revenge. Oh, okay. Absolutely.
As a sports handicapper, I don't.
100%. Whatever it takes to motivate you, use it. right? So if you go, hey, look, we were terrible last year in this football game, and that's as a coach, if I've got to use that to my advantage this week, coming off of a little bit of a emotionless football game at Villanova, with Villanova, yeah, use it. Absolutely. Whatever. Defensively, we did not play well last year, right? I think they're going to watch this tape, and it's not like revenge, it's not the revenge tour. It's just like, look, we didn't play well against.
We are not using the term
No.
revenge tour.
No, we
Chase Winovich, got
but
bad
this is
mojo.
like, look,
That's right.
we didn't play well last year against Indiana. They beat us.
Yeah.
Whether they beat us or not, obviously, if you look at that still photograph, they didn't. But they won, right? So you can't hit the officials, right? So you can hit Indiana. So go take it out on Michael Penix and those boys, today. And that's how you play, right?
The
You play,
Georgia State coach wishes you could hit.
yes,
officials.
absolutely. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. But it is definitely one of those things where whatever motivation you need, especially like you said, to play a not very good football team. We talked about it at Villanova, right? You watch it on tape and you go, hey, look, right, these guys aren't very good. There's no motivation to beat Villanova. But if you watch Indiana on tape and you go, they're not very good, what do you use for motivation? Hey, look, last year, these guys were the beginning of that 0-5 run. These were the guys that kind of knocked us off last. So, yeah, I mean, whatever it takes to motivate you. And as a player, yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to watch myself on tape, and if I didn't play very well, which most of the defense especially didn't play very well last year, it's going to be motivation. Again, revenge may be a bit strong, but
I have no beef with those guys. I mean, whatever. Like they won, they were happy. It's fine. I'm not concerned, and I don't even think about last year's game going into this year's game.
I'm surprised, actually, to hear you say what you just said, because
I am too.
Yeah, I feel like the
that
standard.
I believe in revenge.
Oh, no, that doesn't.
Okay,
at all.
just making
But
sure.
I feel like the standard athlete line is like, oh, well, you don't think about next.
Well, it is. Yeah, the
year.
standard
Right.
athlete line. I'm not an athlete anymore. I can be honest about what really goes on in their heads, right?
Well, yeah, fair. And as I'm thinking about it, I guess you're looking at a lot of the core of last year's team is still here.
Yeah.
What has been motivating them really since the beginning of the 4-game win streak last year is overcoming the stigma of 0-5.
Right.
In some way, you can take this team, turn them into symbolic of all of that, and say we're going to get to play them now under the lights in front of fans at Beaver Stadium and show them what Big Ten football is all about.
That's what it should be.
On the bright side, I don't think our offensive line could make enough holes for Devin Ford to run through this year. So we don't have to worry about that.
It's all right. We'll stay one-dimensional. We'll find. I'm fine with that.
It's good to be a one-dimensional team
I
against
am fine
Indiana
with
when
that.
you don't want to score at the end. But
Throwing completes or
There's no way he would have to take a knee at the goal line because he gets
That's
stopped
right.
at the line of scrimmage for a loss of 1.
I just don't
Very
know.
good.
Very good.
I don't know if we
Beautiful.
can make field goals, so maybe you do have to risk scoring. But yeah,
that was perfect.
it'll be fine. Another night game. These night games just keep coming. I love them. It'll be good. I have a wedding doubleheader, so I'm going to do wedding, game, wedding.
Again?
Oh,
my.
I have a wedding. I'm doing 3 weddings. We have 3 weddings. I'm doing wedding, game, wedding.
God bless.
But anyway, that's how.
Sits out half the show. Absolutely kills this segment with the greatest one-liner with 55 seconds left to go and manages to fill the time with another wedding story. Amazing. Well
to
done.
Kevin Horn.
That's a pro. That is a pro's pro.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hi, I'm Mike the Mailman. If you or your loved one or a friend has a gambling problem, don't hesitate to call the number below on the screen. They're there to help. Hi everybody, Mike the Mailman with another edition of Trends to Treasure. These trends will be for the first weekend of October. First trend this week, I really like. We have Florida at Kentucky. Kentucky has covered 4 straight times, so go with Will Levis and the Kentucky Wildcats. Next trend this week, we go to the Big Ten. We have Michigan at Wisconsin. The Badgers have covered 5 of the last 6 games, so take the Wisconsin Badgers minus the points. Our third trend this week, we have Fresno State at Hawaii. Fresno State has covered 5 of the last 6 games, so take Fresno State. And for our bonus pick this week, we go to the NFL. We have Arizona at the LA Rams. The Rams have covered 8 of the last 8 games, so take the LA Rams. That's it for this week. I'm Mike the Mailman, and don't forget, bet with your head and not with your heart. Go get 'em.
Mike, I'm bringing this back again, as long as it's okay with you.
Certainly.
The obligatory PSU pregame show.
Absolutely.
Nice bounce back week last week for the Trends to Treasure.
Yep.
Did very well.
Yep.
And this is, of course, our random number generator segment where we randomly generate numbers
Yes.
to predict the score this week of Penn State, Indiana, the non-revenge game.
I like it.
Where we get revenge against the Hoosiers.
Yes.
Yes.
Did I go first? This time? Brandon went first last time.
You know what? You know what?
I think I kind of like going first.
Oh, go ahead.
No. You go. You got something to say.
I do remember last week, Chris said something like, "Is there random generating numbers?" And I just give a spread. I just know what the.
Correct.
Yes, you do.
And I said they'd win by 23. Obviously, they won by 21. The first 4 games, I think I've hit 3 out of the 4. It's not a humble brag.
No, not at all.
No.
Not at
Not at
all.
all humble. I agree. Yeah.
Definitely not. No humility whatsoever.
3 games out of 4, I've hit within 1 or 2 points. So, and you guys scoff it off, but I do my handicapping, and you don't appreciate all my handicapping, obviously.
Oh, we do.
Let me tell you
We
how
do.
much I appreciate
Okay.
your awesome handicapping.
okay.
Thank you so much, beloved campus icon, Mike the Mailman. You gonna give us a score or a line or a handicap? Who do you like in the non-revenge game?
I like Penn State probably by 19.
Yeah, you
my-
think so? We're just gonna run away with it under the lights.
We're going to pass away with it. Not run away. We're going to pass away.
Yeah, you're not gonna run away.
Yeah,
with it.
nice
You're
work.
right.
Pass away.
Yeah,
Nice work.
Fair. All right, which one of you want to go next?
34-17 Penn State.
Boom! Look at you, right out of the gate.
I feel comfortable, right, and the last 7 will come in garbage time, screwing over the live line betters. But I don't know. Hopefully, by the time you've watched this, you've already bought in at 11 and 12. I'm comfortable buying it up to 14. I don't know if I'd go above that, but I don't think. I think we'll be fine. I think this Penn State team matches up well against Indiana under the lights of Beaver Stadium. Good to go. It's a similar score, I think, to Villanova.
So let me ask you, it was a little bit of a surprise, I guess, to me that we're going to play this game under the lights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever is going on with TV rights this year, I don't know. I don't totally understand it. I know it's not desirable to play at Kinnick at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though
definitely
Penn
don't wanna do
State
that.
has done well there the last several
It's
times.
a tough game.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
Every time, I think that's going to be a tough game no matter what.
Yes.
This ended up influencing the Iowa kick time that we're kicking off against Indiana. Kev, what do you think the mentality of the crowd is going to be like? You know, contrasted to what we saw versus Auburn, where everybody was like super keyed up. I'm not really sure what to expect this week against Indiana.
I don't know either. I think it's the number 4 team in the country.
Yeah, right.
The students definitely like the night games. I'm not quite sure the team or James does, because then you have a whole day to sort of think about it and kill time.
Yeah.
But for the fans, it's awesome. It's great. And there's no better way to showcase the program than a night game at Beaver Stadium. It's a near sellout. Maybe by the time you watch this, it will be a sellout. I think there's 4,000 tickets left. James now makes a point in his post-game press conference of finding out how many tickets are left for the next home game and putting that number out there and behooving people to buy tickets. So hopefully it'll be a sellout. I think people will show up for it. I mean, people love night games. You get a whole day of tailgating for most normal people. So yeah, the more the better as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And Iowa, I think we get the best of both worlds. Selfishly, I did not want an 11 a.m. kick, but you sort of don't want a night kick because then that gets them another point and a half with that advantage. So I think 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock local is a good medium where I don't have to wake up early after drinking all night in Iowa City, but the sun will be setting in the fourth quarter. It'll be fine.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm looking forward to talking to you about that trip next week. But before we can get there, we have to get through the revenge game. Brandon Noble, what do you got?
I don't know.
Okay.
How's
Nice.
that for an answer?
Yeah, very
for
good.
random. That's random.
Not
Right,
anyone, nothing?
I don't know. I mean, 77-0.
Stop.
It's a random number generator.
Okay, didn't know.
I-
Like
look,
your
no, no,
81
yeah,
nothing
exactly,
last week.
exactly.
Yeah,
81
that went well.
Yes. No, look, I think that this will be, it's under the lights, right? It's exciting. For Indiana, it's exciting, right? They're coming in to play the number 4 team in the nation that they beat last year, whether you see it that way or not. I think it'll be a little bit better football game early on in the game. I think they score a little bit. I think they move the ball around. Let's go 42-21.
Nice.
42. All right.
Because it's completely random.
So
And those are
we
the
couldn't
first two
put up
numbers that came into my head.
42 on the Villanova Wildcats, all due respect.
Yes.
I think that
Because of the revenge.
I think that Penn State's gonna win.
Yes. God, I hope so.
And yes,
Yeah.
and I think that it's gonna be comfortable, but not super comfortable. I got the Nittany Lions 28-17.
Oh, God.
So you agree with the opening line?
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
on the button.
Yep.
All
Right
right.
on the button.
Yep.
11 points. It is not a revenge game.
77-0.
Get it done. Number 4 in the country. Move on, and we'll deal with next week. And we hope you'll join us. Cheers. Everybody. Go State.